Hey, we're talking about Andrew Luck, retiring Colts quarterback. I only thought I was going to go one segment with this, but we're going the entire hour with this. Next hour, I promise, we will talk about Trump and the election, what's going on with China and the trade stuff, Hong Kong protests. We'll talk about Biden. I may talk about that Florida news there with the ruling that came out, stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that we'll be talking about next hour. But I really want to talk about Andrew Luck and continue to talk about that. So as I was saying in the last segment about where I was as a young kid, honestly, I wasn't even, I mean, this is like 17, 18 years old, 19 years old. I, had tasted, and I made a decision, and I'll just gloss on it, very briefly, but, and this is my opinion, my recollection, I'm not alleging anything, etc., etc. But this is a long time ago, obviously. I had wrestled up most of my sort of wrestling career, if you will, and I'd always sacrifice for the team, whatever. I was one of the team captains. Finally, I'm a senior. This is my year, etc., like that. And so I wanted to wrestle my weight class. And I think, if I remember right, maybe I remember incorrectly, I was getting some static on that. I had just wrestled this dude, Jeff Keck, and you can look it up. The dude was a super accomplished, went on to do a lot of things as a wrestler. I shut that dude out. I beat the San Francisco area champion, and Keck had placed at states before that. I mean, I was just on a tear. I was ready to go. This was my year. And in that match, it's one of those things where you do different setups, and I might be going for a move, and wrestling is as much chess as it is a physical activity. This move counters that move, and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get too technical on that because there's so much to talk about, and we have a short segment here, and I want to wrap up on the Luck stuff. But anyway, long story short, I went for a setup to shoot for a leg. And I wasn't the greatest takedown artist. I was really good at throws, but I had tremendous flexibility, tremendous strength for my size, great endurance, and I was just unbelievably good on the mat, either offense or defense. I was almost impossible to pin, and I could pin almost anybody. And so I could get out of things, I could do different, whatever. And so actually, it sets this up. So here, and this was probably the biggest match of my life actually ever at that point, with the skill set of this person I was wrestling. And I went for a setup. Like a forehead shake, and then a stiff arm, right? And then I went to shoot. He at the same time was trying to do an arm drag on me. So now we were kind of in this weird stalemate of I had a stiff arm. He's got my arm, and I'm not going to give him my arm. So somehow I was going to go for my shot. He went. I believe if it wasn't then, it was sometime after then. He went for a shot. Maybe it was after then. And, it was a deep shot, stuff like that. But thankfully, I was really flexible. I was able to sort of sprawl out, hit an arm, hit my arm in there, and then do a whizzer, and I got his back for the two. He tried to hit the outside. So anyway, I got the points, and I won, everything like that. Later, he was, I don't know what happened or what the deal was, but somehow someone goes to my coach, complains about that. Oh, hey, he was I did this or that, or somehow it was thumbing his nose. I don't know what, thumbing his nose or something dude, it's no, I was going for my shot. I wasn't going to give he went for an arm drag. I wasn't going to give him my arm. Anyway, so it was that, and with some other stuff, and my coach just gave me static, and I'm like, okay, you know what? And then it's for other things, I was doing an exercise that other people couldn't do, and I was one of the captains called it out, and it was just, so I'm like, you know what? I don't need it. That's fine. I got other things to do, and I decide that if you're gonna keep giving me a hard time, I'm your top, whatever. I don't need to be on the team. That was a decision that I made, and that's a decision that I had to live with, and no one else had to live with that, right? I mean, so if I would have stayed there and won states or placed in states, maybe I would have got a scholarship to Stanford. Maybe I would have, coulda, shoulda, would have. And a lot of times I look back and think about that. I'm thinking, wow, I wish I would have done that or whatever. But that was a decision I needed to live with. And I did, right? But because I wasn't on the team that year, I was able to do a lot of other things and prepare for college and whatnot. And maybe that was a better decision. But ultimately, I had to decide between wrestling, and I went back and wrestled with USA Wrestling, and me and the coach were cool, and everything was fine. We patched it up, and it was all good. But if I would have pursued wrestling, that would have been for like trying to make the Olympics and all that. Who knows if I ever could have got there? It's so hard. It would have been like a whole life commitment. The nice thing about powerlifting is I was able to do the rest of my life and still do that. Still do that a sport at a really, really high level. So that was a decision that I made. We all live with our decisions. So I don't think you can sit here and judge Andrew Luck over his decision. And I will say that I probably need to just put this in a bow. So I'm just going to start quickly the next hour with it. But we'll talk about everything else. You're listening to John D. Villarreal Show on 1210 AM Miami, The Man, the only station where you are the man.